Welcome to Will It Work? I am Kevin. Today we're looking at the Neo Geo X. This is it's kind of a weird one. I would normally have started this series of Neo Geos type stuff because we've already looked at the Mini, and I think I looked at least one other Neo Geo capable device. I don't recall if it was official or not. I'd have to look back to everything we've already done. But I did not show the MVS, which was Neo Geo's first home game system, right? And what they did was it looked sort of like this, and it took really large cartridges on the top, which were essentially arcade boards. It's the best way to put it. And they were true copies of what you would find in the arcade. Now, I don't have an MVS at this time as of, what is it, middle of August 2021. And you might be like, really? Why not? I can buy one. But the problem is that they're very expensive to get one. And I don't think they're worth it. This is a bit of a debacle when it comes to my collection. I kind of want one because it was a home system. It was released in the United States. It does tend to fit into my collection. But it's also like this weird thing where you can buy for half the price an official main board of Neo Geo running in a sort of a case that's third party, but the main board is a real Neo Geo arcade main board, and you can then use the arcade cartridges rather than the home system cartridges, and that's going to run you a lot cheaper than the home systems and the home system cartridges. And so it's a weird situation because you can play all the games, right? You can get, first of all, you can get a multi-cart with all the games. You're going to be arcade perfect, and you can do that for either the MVS or the arcade one. But so why then would I want to pay twice the price for the home system versus the arcade system, which has the same games but is cheaper? There's no answer to that. It wasn't always that way. You couldn't go buy, back in the day, the arcade version, not easily anyway. It would have cost you a lot more money than it would today, and it would have been a lot more expensive to get the arcade cartridges, right? But not today. I mean, it's not a big deal today. Neo Geo basically isn't in the arcades anymore. So all those old main boards and everything, thousands and thousands of them are probably sitting in various warehouses if they still work. And cheap. Where people that have the systems spent a fortune on them for their home systems because the main unit itself was expensive, and then every game cartridge generally ran between $200 and $300 basically, if I recall. Maybe some of the earlier ones were cheaper. And why did they cost so much? Why did a game cost so much? Because it just had all of the RAM in it that the game needed to give you all of the frames of animation, at the time. And so, it says here max 330 mega, or that was basically what it would say at the beginning, and it would tell you, how much meg the games could hold. And RAM was expensive, and early machines, the earliest machines we've looked at run on kbytes, right? And then of course it evolved into megabytes, and now we all do gigabytes and terabytes and everything else. But in the with the Neo Geo, back in when it was released, it was the first time that you had an arcade at home. It's just that right now the price on it is just not good. Now that's not to say that this is the only Neo Geo system I have. They have some other things that we are going to look at, and I still have some interesting stuff. But in terms of like the cartridge-based system, I will probably at some point get an MVS because it fits into my collection. It's the home system, etc. But I kind of like, if I'm going to drop the kind of money that people want to do or want for it, I want one that's like pretty pristine, and not just something that somebody had in their bedroom and now they're trying to just unload it for more than they actually paid for it, which I think is what is really going on a lot with eBay. So anyway, let's talk more about the Neo Geo X. That's what we're here for today. So this is a weird one. This looks like you have the cartridge slot up here and the power button, but no, this is just a case. This is just the case which opens up, and inside is the handheld, which is what the Neo Geo X actually is. Sorry about the dust. And this was a pretty decent little system. It was released by, it's Tommy or Tomo. Can't quite remember off the top of my head, but it was an official branded SNK product, and they brought it out in North America, and as well as I'm sure parts of Asia and maybe even in Europe. I'm not sure about all that, but the idea was that you have this handheld unit, and then you would let me put it back on here real quick because it was kind of charging, hopefully. And so you would have this handheld unit, and you could slide it into this dock, and the dock allowed you to use USB controls, and it did also come with this Neo Geo arcade stick, which is very similar. It's micro switched with the 4 buttons to the one that originally came with the MVS. So that's kind of nice. And of course you can put in other kinds of pads to make that work. To have other, control sticks. Now these things are running on a memory card. It's basically an SD card, and from what I understand, they were fairly easy to hack. But the idea is that they would sell. This is dirty, but games would come in a big case like this, full of all these games. This is the Mega Pack Volume 1, and it would come with a little memory card, and I'm just taking out one of the memory cards here. This is Ninja Masters, which I believe is what this came with, and there's a firmware update on here or something in order to playing the games on here. Anyway, there was a problem, and SNK demanded that Tommy stop selling the Neo Geo X. They said that they had broken their agreement with SNK, and that it's Tomo, and they should immediately stop. But Tomo was like, nope, we are living up to the terms of the agreement, and we're going to continue to sell this unit. And that's all I heard about it. That's all I think anybody heard about it. It kind of just faded away. My guess is that they got it out there, they sold it, they sold a few packs of games, and then interest for it just went away. And they didn't continue with it. It's to be expected because SNK, the company, doesn't really exist anymore. It is around by name. It's like Atari. It's the name. Somebody else runs it. But the actual original company is gone. And so, it's mostly just a licensing thing. And I thought Tomo did a pretty decent job with this. I think maybe some people might have been critical about it for one reason or another, but it's not that bad. You have a micro switched joystick on the left there, which is nice, right? Menu button, start button, A, B, C, and D. I apologize for all the dust on this thing. I have air cleaners and things, but sometimes a couple of things get caught in a part of the storage where they just get a lot of dust. And it's like, I don't know, what that's from. I don't live in like a dusty mansion. Sorry about that. I had to pause the video there. I was trying to make sure that it would actually turn on. It does have a display at this point. It was turned on inside the dock. To connect up the joystick here. But yeah, I just live in a regular house. I don't have like a mansion or anything. But I get like like a lot of dust, I think, from static or something that gets into some systems like this one here. And oh well, what are you going to do? Let's put this joystick in there like that. And so you turn the power on here, and it turns on the unit, even if it's already switched off on the one side when it's inside the case like this. And then there's a menu button up here. So let's see. I can't quite remember if this just starts to respond when you press the menu button, if it turns on. Don't think so. I wanted to try that first. Okay, let's pop her back open. And so we have this, and it may be one of these things where the battery has to have a bit of a charge here before it'll actually start to play, kind of like some cell phones, etc. Let's see here. All right, I'll pause the video. We'll give it a little bit of time to charge, and I'll be right back. You won't even notice I'm gone. Okay, so this is what it is when it's plugged in on the composite. I did find an HDMI cable that's medium size, but sound was getting kind of choppy on that output, so I switched over to this one, but this is a bit more washed out, and it's also like a brightness issue of some sort. But anyway, we'll just make sure this thing works right and move on. You have all these different games. These are all the games that are on the unit itself, right? And then the SD card also has additional games. Tokyo! Come on with it. Reminds me of Movie Monster on Commodore 64. It's like some kind of kiddie brawler almost. It's not like a real fighting game. It's got some stuff, but it's not like, I don't think there's like special moves or anything. All right, that sucks. Let's look at something else. let's look at the memory card here. So you go into the game card, and then you get more games to choose from. Now, in terms of how many they made for this, they didn't make that many. There were a few different packs, I think. This was the first one, and then they I think they had a couple more, or they planned to. Not quite sure, to be honest. And then like I said, it kind of just faded away. But you know how it is. There's somebody out there that's got a hacked SD card you probably put in and has like all 200 Neo Geo games or whatever the heck it is. It's always kind of interesting, like, this is fairly old in terms of, like, I don't know if it's 10 years old, but it's fairly old. And you figure, like, emulation today, like if you got a emulator of SNK, your microprocessor after 10 years is going to be likely a lot faster and more performant. And the guys that, like, if this is running on MAME or whatever, I'm sure there's probably been some sort of improvements, probably, to make it run, better since that time. So it's always like, with emulation, it's always like the later ones can be a lot better. Now, it's not always true. People cut corners, and you can end up with, a system that's not as good because they wanted to be cheap. But I'm just saying, like, on the top end, you could probably get the most up-to-date ARM processor, forgo like whatever Intel or AMD have at the moment, and just use like the latest ARM, and it would probably be better than what's inside this handheld today. And same with like memory capacity and all that, although I would imagine that these things have all the memory that you need to play all of these SNK games. I don't think they're going to cut out any frames of animation. But what do I know? Doubt it, though. Because I'm pretty sure you can load this thing up with actual ROMs, and it'll work. It doesn't really skip anything or whatever, etc. So, yeah. Anyway, looks like it works. Let's look at one more game just so we can... And it plays fine for me. I don't have any complaints about this. I really, I'll look up the history of this thing when I put the show notes together and just see what it was that caused the lawsuit. But I don't know if it was a performance thing or a money thing or a misrepresentation thing. I really don't know. Maybe it was price. I think it might have had something to do with price. Like they had promised that it would come out at a certain price, and then it didn't, and then sales didn't do as well as they had wanted, and so then they wanted them to stop selling it because it was going to be a failure. I don't know. It was a weird move by SNK to go after Tomo. I mean, they licensed the product. It's not really a bad-looking product. It plays everything fine, They have a pretty good pack-in of games, etc., that you could get, to play the Neo Geo titles. So it's weird that they would go after them like that in court. I don't know what came of it, though. I don't even know if they actually ever got to court. It's probably just more like a cease and desist letter was sent, and seems like a repeat. Seems like I just did this, didn't it? Doesn't it seem like I just fought this guy and did this exact same thing like a minute ago?
Oh, Jesus. These shmups just become like a weapon of death after a while. You keep picking up power-ups until you're just like a mass of destruction. But then, of course, once you do die, then all of a sudden you've lost like all of those power-ups just like that. And then you're back to like just being a basic, unit, and you've got no. You're still playing in like the hardest level or whatever, so you have like no recourse. Screw you, little car. Alright. Well, you got to see the Neo Geo X. Now, this isn't the only Neo Geo thing. Again, like I said, we'll look at least one more in my collection and kind of go from there. But, yeah, like I said, this is also a handheld, so you don't have to play it on the base unit like this. You can just pop it out and, play some Neo Geo fighting action right there on the handheld. Is it a little dated today because of everything that's available? Probably, but it was, at least at one point, an officially licensed product. And I got the box and everything, so I'm going to put it all away nicely. And, yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.